Starting us off is Shurado, shurado, a heavy slashing action game that drops you straight into hell. I tested this one expecting a mindless button masher, but what surprised me was the actual tactical depth. You tap the right side to strike and the left to block, requiring you to actually read your enemy's movements instead of just swiping like a maniac. It looks absolutely gorgeous, weighing in just under 1 GB, and boasts over 130 weapons to unlock. The combat feels heavy and brutal, which I love, but be warned that it can get a bit repetitive once you settle into a rhythm. Still, if you want a visually stunning melee brawler that rewards patience and timing rather than just fast fingers, this ranks as a definitive solid play. Next up, we have SWAT Shooter Police Action FPS, which promises intense tactical combat but delivers something entirely different. The store page sells this as a massive free-roaming open city shooter, but when I jumped in, I quickly realized it is essentially an on-rails shooter where the game moves for you. While the graphics look surprisingly good even on lower-end devices, the actual gameplay is stiff and heavily automated with default auto-aim that takes away all the challenge. Worse yet, the progression is severely paywalled.
Meet you there. Watch your back.
Reviewers and my own playthrough confirmed that enemies become bullet sponges unless you swipe your credit card for massive weapon upgrades. Toss in rampant bugs that wipe your save progress and aggressive microtransactions, and this one is an easy cash grab to avoid. Moving to something much better, we have Bunker, zombie survival games. I am exhausted by zombie games that force you to build bases and wait for timers, so this first-person story-driven adventure was a massive breath of fresh air. You wake up as a geneticist in a post-apocalyptic wasteland and have to solve puzzles while fighting off mutants in offline levels. The atmosphere is fantastic and incredibly tense, feeling a lot like a bite-sized mobile Resident Evil. On the downside, the controls are a little clunky, the health bar user interface needs polish, and your starting firearms feel a bit underpowered. But honestly, those are minor gripes for a game that delivers a concise, creepy, and no-nonsense narrative experience without nagging you for cash. I am calling this one a glorious hidden gem. Then we have Soul Knight, a legendary top-down roguelike shooter that has been on my radar for years. The pixel art is exquisite, the combat is butter smooth, and having over 400 weapons means no two dungeon runs ever feel the same. However, I have to call out the developers for recently removing the true offline mode, meaning you now have to log in first before playing, which has frustrated a massive chunk of the player base. Additionally, when the screen gets cluttered with projectiles in later levels, the performance can tank heavily. Despite the fantastic core loop and brilliant multiplayer, the forced login requirements and occasional lag spikes keep this from being perfect, making it a very frustrating mixed bag. If you want something completely out of left field, let me introduce you to Duriano, roguelike RPG, Duriano. You play as a literal durian fruit battling Norse gods in a top-down arena, which is probably the weirdest sentence I have said all week. I tested the battle system and found the buffs and abilities genuinely interesting, giving you plenty of room to craft weird character builds to fight the fire giants. Unfortunately, what you are downloading for free is essentially just a demo. A huge chunk of the characters and equipment are strictly locked behind a paid wall to unlock the full game. It is quirky and charming, but because the free content is so limited before you hit that paywall, it lands firmly as a mixed bag. Revving up next is Trial Extreme Freedom, a dirt bike racing game that is all about gravity-defying stunts and precise controls. I was instantly hooked by the physics engine, which makes every big jump and steep incline feel incredibly satisfying to pull off. You can upgrade your bikes, tackle career challenges, and go head-to-head in player versus player multiplayer. The visuals are sharp, and nailing a perfect backflip across the finish line feels great. The only real downside is that progression can feel a bit grindy if you want to unlock the high-tier motorcycles without opening your wallet. Still, the core racing mechanics are highly polished, and it delivers exactly the rush it promises, earning it the title of a reliable solid play. Prepare your eyeballs for Beat Hazard Arcade, a twin-stick shooter where your own music library dictates the entire game. The levels, weapon intensity, and enemy swarms sync perfectly to whatever song you play, meaning a chill acoustic track gives you a breezy level while heavy metal spawns absolute chaos. I love that this is a pure premium mobile experience. You get 3 hours of included music, but one single purchase unlocks everything, with zero energy systems or loot boxes in sight. The only weakness is that the flashing lights and visual noise can be overwhelming, so it is definitely not for the light sensitive. But for anyone craving an old-school, adrenaline-fueled arcade experience that respects your time and wallet, this is an absolute hidden gem. We cannot talk mobile gaming without investigating old-school RuneScape. I jumped back into Gil-Nor, and found the sense of open-world freedom just as intoxicating as it was 20 years ago. You can level 24 unique skills, fight bosses, or just chop trees and chat with strangers. The cross-platform play between mobile and desktop is flawless. However, IT is not all sunshine. The game is currently plagued by botting issues that hurt the in-game economy. The mobile user interface can lead to accidental misclicks because it lacks a virtual joystick, and the monthly subscription cost has gone up significantly. Yet, even with the clunky interface and pricier membership, no other mobile online role-playing game offers this much depth, making it a nostalgic solid play. Things take a dark turn with The Walking Dead: Aftermath. This is a top-down survivor game where you drag a joystick to avoid hordes of walkers while upgrading your skills. At first glance, IT seems fun to play as iconic characters like Rick and Daryl, but the shiny exterior quickly crumbles. My biggest issue is the aggressive energy system that requires you to wait 20 minutes just for a single point of energy, which is unacceptable. Furthermore, the environments are repetitive, advertisements constantly interrupt and sometimes crash the game, completely ruining your run, and progressing feels like hitting a brick wall unless you pay. They took a great license and buried it under predatory monetization, making this a disappointing cash grab to avoid. Wrapping up our list is Crossout Mobile, a post-apocalyptic vehicular combat game where you literally build your own tanks and cars out of scrap. The crafting freedom is insane, allowing millions of combinations of weapons and armor before you roll into 6 vs 6 multiplayer battles. You can literally shoot specific pieces off enemy vehicles to cripple them. The major flaw here is the horrendous driving physics. If you take a turn too sharply, your vehicle might glitch, get stuck on terrain, or completely freeze up. It also suffers from a sluggish tutorial and occasional lag on older phones. But if you can forgive the clunky driving controls, the vehicle building and shooting mechanics offer incredible free-to-play value, making it a highly creative solid play.